What's up, everyone? Tara Roberts here, and welcome into the Dear Miss Fantasy Show. This is the official mailbag show for Player Profiler. It is Wednesday, October 15th, halfway through October, which means we are like halfway closer to the NFL trade deadline. I'm sure that we will talk about it because we have got some rumors that are swirling. We had always known that we had the Alvin Kamara trade rumors and whatnot, but teams are popping up interested in receivers. We might have Meyers on the news from a fun source on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, there's a fun source that does fairly accurate in terms of leaking trades before they happen here. So we might be getting it. Hey, it's what Jacoby wanted. So interesting. We will see. But yeah, welcome in, guys. If you are listening live, drop your questions in the chat. We'll be answering right away because you guys are awesome. You've already got the questions in. So we're just going to dive right in and go ahead and start off with that, answering the questions. Oh, and this week's topic, by the way, it is buy or sell, whether or not we are buying into some of these performances for players that have rebounded very well. Guys like Brian Thomas, McConkey, Jamison Williams, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins-ish, right? Ted McMillan, Derrick Henry, guys like that. So drop your questions in the chat. We'll talk about whether or not we believe in some of these. Let's start off right off the bat here with questions. Let's see. I had a bunch of questions that were loaded and now they're disappearing here for me. Hopefully I'll get them back. That's okay. Henry Odom. Who do I need to start at 2 wide receiver in flex between PPR, Nico? I've got Rico Dowdle on my head. I've talked a lot about Rico Dowdle. I'm sure we'll talk about him too. Just did a video about him if you guys want to check that out after as well. Storylines for the week, talked about the Carolina backfield that is potentially going to be split there. Yeah, we got Nico, Rice, Jefferson, and Lamb. So that is a nice full grouping there. To be frank, so the thing about Rashee Rice, and that's actually a buy or sell as well, because are we trusting him right off the bat? You know, projections vary according to where you look, right, and the different apps that you use, whatnot. But all in all, from what I've seen, Rashee Rice is already projected to outperform Xavier Worthy in this first matchup here. I think that obviously says a lot about him and also a lot about Xavier Worthy and how underwhelming the production has been over the past couple of weeks there. Sorry, Henry, I'll share your question there for everybody to see on YouTube. But it's very interesting, right? Because right off the bat, when we look at Rashee Rice, Patrick Mahomes needs that heavy volume guy. Unfortunately, Travis Kelce has just taken a clear downturn in his production and its age. You know, no negative towards him. At some point, we all fall off. And I think that's kind of the point that we're at with Kelce. He can bring it every now and then. He's still, you know, a low-end tight end one, but doesn't have that upside that Patrick Mahomes needs. Worthy, again, is playing through an injury. If he were healthy, maybe this would be a different situation. But Rice should come in and dominate right off the bat. So it is tough to sit him. But because of the variables there, it's probably safer for you to just go ahead with Nico, Jefferson, and Lamb on that one. And then Henry also has a question there. Trade offer Josh Allen and A.J. Brown for Drake May and Justin Jefferson. Should you take it? I would take that. Yeah, the production difference between Josh Allen and Drake May is honestly not that drastic. And it's not that there's any issue with Josh Allen overall. Just, you know, of course, there are down games that come. It happens for everybody here. But it's less about any issue with A.J. Brown and more about the fact that Drake May has been absolutely fantastic and has shown himself on a weekly basis, with a couple of exceptions here and there, right? Top 10 consistent upside there. He has the rushing upside to really get us there in terms of that consistent top 5 upside there. Upgrading from A.J. Brown to Justin Jefferson, who obviously is in a precarious quarterback situation at this time right now, as of Wednesday. We don't have a named starter for Minnesota this week. We knew that at some point J.J. McCarthy would be back, but the offense has been flowing well with Carson Wentz. I mean, the offense tends to flow well with anybody, any veteran quarterbacks there. J.J. McCarthy, obviously, Had a struggle game before he got injured there, but he is a rookie. System is awesome, right? But it does take a little time just to adapt to real game time speed there. Not a rookie. He's not a rookie, but it is his rookie-ish season since he literally got not a single ounce of play last season because he got injured even before preseason. So this was really his first live in action. So I give him a little bit of an excuse there, right? But we saw Jordan Addison return, and I think the benefit of Jordan Addison returning was massive for Justin Jefferson to really stretch out that field and allow Jefferson to be Justin Jefferson there. So I trust him and in his level of his floor, his volume a lot more than I trust AJ Brown, unfortunately. And that's not anything to do with AJ Brown. That's just the unfortunate nature of his sad existence there in Philadelphia. In that video that I dropped earlier this morning, I talked about Philadelphia as well. It's just been abysmal. Like AJ Brown's floor is literally 1 point. Justin Jefferson will not give you that. So even in the most difficult matchups, like you don't get into that situation with him. So yeah, I would take that trade right there. That's how much faith that I have in Drake May there. And then one more question from Henry Odom. Hunter Henry has let me down the past couple of weeks here. I picked up Meyers, but Mason Taylor is still on waivers. Who would you start? I love this question. Stick with Meyers. And I love Mason Taylor too. And I think that Mason Taylor should see an uptick in production as well. But when we look at Michael Meyers, I talked about this in the waiver wire video. The thing about Michael Meyers is that we know that the Raiders see him as a 1-for-1 replacement there. We don't have any idea in terms of the timeline on Brock Bowers, which is disturbing to me, unfortunately. I forgot the year off for Pete Carroll made me forget that Pete Carroll is legitimately one of the worst coaches in terms of giving you a clear and defined timeline on player injuries. If anyone remembers the pain of, oh no, wait, there might be something wrong with my live stream. Hold on here. Let me see. I got an email from somebody saying that you're getting errors trying to get onto. Oh, that's interesting. No, I don't know. Can you guys let me know if there's any issue that you guys have? Someone that I work with emailed that it looked like YouTube was having outages right now, but I think we're good. Hopefully we stay good for this whole show. But back to Michael Meyers there. Again, with that one, I was talking about the Pete Carroll and his injury timeline there. Remember way back when, not that long ago, it feels like an eternity ago, Chris Carson, wonderful running back for Seattle, got a neck injury, and Pete Carroll kept, they never put him on IR, and Pete Carroll kept, not really giving a specific timeline on there. And turns out the injury was so bad that he had to retire. It was just out of the blue. We're like, okay, when is he coming back? And then it was announced that he was going to retire. It was like, what? No, Pete Carroll, that's not okay. Can you just give us some kind of indication here? So I'm kind of low key, I'm traumatized for that. I'm kind of feeling like, oh my God, are we on that path with Brock Bowers? Is this worse than we presumed? And Pete Carroll is just not telling us because that's how he is. And he's a terrible coach speak guy. Cool guy, right? Love you running around and throwing the ball and whatnot. Fun. But your coach speak is a little suspect there. So I'm concerned. And I think that picking up Meyers is very critical there because as long as Brock Bowers is out, Meyers is a 1-for-1 replacement there. They refused to, teams literally called on, Michael Meyers was an excellent prospect. Remember, guys, teams have literally called on him in the offseason to see if he was available because they were looking for a tight end one and he's so solid and the Raiders weren't using him. They drafted Brock Bowers. So it's like, okay, is this guy available? The Raiders refused to trade. They said, nope, he's not available. Well, that's how much they value him here. So he has legitimately the same upside as Brock Bowers. I think Brock Bowers is more talented than Meyers. Yeah. But Meyers is no slouch there. So I feel super comfortable with Meyers having extremely high upside as long as he is the tight end one there. So yeah, I would hold on to Meyers there. I do like Mason Taylor's potential, with Garrett Wilson likely being out here to get volume. But at the end of the day, we still lean that direction. What's up, Jerry Nelson? How are you doing? From Meggie Blue 2. Awesome. Oh, thank you. You're so kind. 8-man PPR, Camara, Travis Etienne. Miller, Scadaboo, Rachaad, White, Keenan Allen, Worthy, Coker, Jefferson, 2 RBs and 2 flex. I love the grouping there. That's an awesome, again, that's a really, really nice setup there for your lineup. I would go with Travis Etienne. Well, no. Let me actually check my rankings here because I believe that I moved Rachaad White up significantly, and it actually might be Rachaad White and Scadaboo that I have the highest. Where is Etienne? Etienne moved back a little bit in the matchup here. So yeah, good. Yeah, it's Rachaad White and Scadaboo that I have both top 15 backs this week. So those are the 2 that I would go with for running back. And then for flex there, yeah, Jefferson and Puka on that one for sure. Awesome. Let's see. Oh, and yeah, the 2. Okay, sorry. I got the second message there. So the 2 wide receivers are Jefferson and Puka, and then the 2 flex there. The 2 flex we would lean towards going with Worthy for sure on that one, and then Travis Etienne. So yeah, you're set running back, you're starting Rachaad and Scadaboo. At wide receiver, Jefferson and Puka, and then at flex, it is Worthy and Etienne on that one. And by the way, I recommend, because my family league is 8-man, and you've got the 2 flex there, 2 wide receiver, 2 RB. When anybody, if you've got like 8-man, like if your grouping is only 8-man or even 10-man, but if you want to up it so that your waivers are not like super wide open with superstars on them, add in extra flex there. So having a 2 bear there at minimum there helps out a ton. So good question. Sam Silverman. Hey, Tara, new to the channel. Welcome in. Thank you so much. Need 1 wide receiver, either Waddle or Tet full PPR. I would go with Waddle. Matchup is not 100% ideal. I'm going to check my rankings here and see how high I have him. And bear with me, guys. My monitor, my monitor that I hook up so that I can have multiple screens and have rankings up and then see your comments at the same time. I was moving my desk and it fell and it cracked and got destroyed, and I'm so sad. So I don't have a second monitor, so I'm flipping back and forth on my laptop screen and it's driving me crazy. So if I'm slightly delayed, I think my internet is good enough to and I've like shut down a whole bunch of stuff so that we should not have any lag. But just FYI, I am switching back and forth on the same screen here so that I can get you my rankings. But I have Jalen Waddle moved up pretty significantly in rankings this week, still fairly high here. Cleveland is not an ideal matchup. But at this point, we've got a lot of ample evidence here that the aggressive target funnel is going to be to Jalen Waddle. So while he might not have that 20 fantasy point upside this week, 15 is very reasonable for him. Tet, the 2 touchdowns is awesome, but he is also in a difficult matchup here. I would definitely lean towards this one being the more difficult with the New York Jets. He will get Sauce Gardner. And the Jets defense earlier in the year, right? You remember they got tore up by Pittsburgh, right? Earlier in the year. But they had a few weeks there where they were looking very suspect. Maybe like more than a few. But something that wasn't talked about with the Jets is they were dealing with a lot of injuries. They got 1 player back last week. I'm hoping, I have not checked the practice reports. Actually, let me check the practice reports right now to see what is Quincy Williams doing? Quincy, I don't know. I guess maybe I thought he was going to come back this week, but maybe not. But they're dealing with injuries, so hopefully they get an additional player back this week. But yeah, I would lean towards Waddle. Ted's matchup is a wee bit of an issue there. From Albert, what's up? Hope you're doing well. And then let's see here. Oh yeah, I'm getting comments here. Yeah, there's something weird going on with YouTube right now. Yeah, I was getting emails here. So thank you guys for telling me. It's like, I don't know. I guess it's just YouTube and not necessarily me right now, which is random because I never have issues with YouTube, but hopefully we're all good now. What's up, Eric? What's up, A1? What's up, Joshua Hidalgo? Question is, do I take Amon-Ra for Lad and JCM? Man, it feels, if you need a running back, I can do that, right? The problem though is that I do think it's a significant downgrade from Amon-Ra to Lad. So it depends on what other wide receiver you have as well. I would hope that you have someone else that can have a wide receiver one, or someone else on your team that can serve as a good wide receiver one there. But when we're looking at Amon-Ra for Lad, McConkey, and JCM, JCM at least does give you enough boost there if you're looking for a running back. So that's fair. Lad is interesting. Lad is one of our, let's talk about it. Lad is one of our buy or sell candidates for this week. And I buy with Lad. We're buying right now because one, the injury to Quentin Johnston, obviously hamstring injury set him back there a little bit. We don't know if he's going to be available this week. I do not believe he is practicing right now. Wednesday, we go live on Wednesday for those of you that are watching, which unfortunately means, so he logged a limited practice, which is good, but he logged a whole bunch of limited practices last week as well. So I would have hoped there maybe would have been a little progression, but Wednesday practice reports, I mean, we go live on Wednesday. We can't go live on Thursday because of the game there. The Wednesday practice reports, that's why it's so hard to talk about injuries, because they're so random. If you have any little injury whatsoever, you're probably not going to practice on Wednesday regardless here. But yeah, I think it's worth it to get to JCM. Obviously, his production is inconsistent. They don't completely trust him in the pass game, so that does mean that a guy like Jerry McNichols does, have a continued purpose in that lineup. But the ceiling is super high. Sometimes the floor is a little low there. But if you're looking for a running back to add on to that trade, I think that's very reasonable there. Shout out to Morgan Grimes, FF, our producer here. And then the follow-up for Joso, my running backs will be Warren, Dowdle, and Pollard after trading oh, wait, you're taking Amon-Ra. Okay, I'm sorry, I read that backwards. You're taking Amon-Ra for Lad and JCM. Okay, and you have Warren, Dowdle, and Pollard. You're fine with Warren for sure. And honestly, between JCM, Dowdle, and Pollard, it's all kind of the same situation, right? Obviously, JCM probably has the higher ceiling. Dowdle has the highest ceiling of all, but obviously that is with Chuba Hubbard. We are expecting, if not this week, then next week we would be getting him back at some point. Now, Dave Canales did say that did not commit to either one of them being the RB1, and it maybe is kind of expected, and we should expect that this is going to be a committee moving forward. Dowdle has been fantastic. So, if he continues to sit there and outperform, and Carolina's offense is very balanced. They don't throw aggressively. Their defense, and this is kind of key here, their defense has made a big upgrade in terms of their production from last year. And I think it's going overlooked a little bit, because their secondary has always been overlooked because I don't know, they're just kind of grouping it together, but their secondary has really been the strength of their overall defense there. They've been difficult to throw on, extremely easy to run, but the run defense is really clamping down. I think, with the free agency additions they made, the draft picks that they made were very focused on the defensive line as well. So I kind of feel like there's definitely maybe a clear upgrade in terms of their ability to stop the run here. So that makes them in more competitive games. They don't have to chase points there. They can lean on the run. They don't have to abandon the run at any point. So we have seen the level of volume that Dowdle has had in the past two matchups. Granted, they're very good matchups there. But at the end of the day, I think there's enough volume on the ground to where Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard can actually be fairly relevant, because they're, really leaning heavily on the run here. So yeah, I don't mind that for you to get Amon-Ra. And then at running back, I think you're solid. Warren is overlooked. Also, Warren has an excellent matchup this week there. And your receivers there are Chase, Tet, Pearsall, and Coker. Oh yeah, so you'll have Chase, who, by the way, we'll talk about here. Let's go ahead and talk about it here as well. Chase is one of our bounce back candidates here, bouncing back well over the past couple of weeks there. And to his credit, the first bounce back game was with Jake Browning. We won't undersell him there. And then the second one here with Joe Flacco. This is exactly why I said that we were not trading away Jamar Chase. We were buying Jamar Chase because he is Jamar Chase. And we kind of don't care who was at quarterback for him, because his ceiling, regardless of who is at quarterback, is just astronomically above literally anybody else. When we look at him, he is legitimately one of the few players. I don't know, and I hesitate to say the only, but I mean, how many players ceiling consistently is above 25 fantasy points? He's played 6 games this season. Obviously, only one was with Joe Burrow there, and we have had 3 of those 6 games he has had above 25 fantasy points here. You know, because of the inconsistent quarterback play, the ceiling does, or the floor is a little bit lower there, but the ceiling is astronomical here. You roll with it and you reap the benefits of those big boom games there. So yeah, I don't mind that at all. You've got a really solid core there. Let's see here. And thank you so much. I appreciate the super chat. Thank you. And then we also got another super chat here from Aji Kumar. Drop one for Kittle. Oh, wow. Kittle is on. I don't know. You might be pulling. I was going to say, man, Kittle's on waivers. That's crazy. But you might be pulling him off IR, which I get. I have him in a league where I don't have IR. He's just burning a roster spot there for me. So I'm grateful that we are going to get him back here. Between Carter, Bam, RJ Harvey, Charbonnet, and Kendre Miller. That's a tough grouping right there, for real. More than likely, I lean towards it's got to be between one of the Arizona running backs. Just because, again, with Charb, now granted, let's not use, don't do recency bias with Charbonnet. The game last week for Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet was dreadful. I've never seen both of them combined for that poor play. I mean, I'm sure it has happened, but that was something special right there. But it was matchup based there. I still trust them overall. And then Seattle said it's going to remain, the backfield is going to remain what it is. It's a committee. Personal opinion, Kenneth Walker is the more talented running back there. But at the end of the day, talent is awesome, but they want to use Charbonnet once they get into the red zone. It is what it is there. So you want to keep him, especially because Walker has not had one of those injuries and he's always due for one, unfortunately. So high upside handcuff there. You can't drop Miller because while New Orleans said that they are not, 100% trading, they're not interested in trading Alvin Kamara. You say things, but often when the right offer comes in, you change your mind on that one. So no, we can't drop Kendre Miller. RJ Harvey, again, J.K. Dobbins' injury history just makes it a must keep there. So it is between Carter and Bam. It's got to be Carter there. It's a true committee. Bam got the start there. Neither one of them really outperformed the other. As a matter of fact, they literally gave the exact same performance. The difference is that Bam got the goal line touch, obviously, or red zone touch in terms of getting the touchdown. And then Carter has the upside from a receiving perspective. They flipped it right there. They could flip it back there. But for you, I would probably go ahead and drop Carter. It sucks because in theory, they really could just flip it back and start Carter again. I don't trust Arizona at this point, unfortunately. They'll tell us, apparently, so that's good. But I don't know if there's any true consistency there in their backfield. So dropping one for Kittle, I think it's got to be Carter there. All right. Let's get back here to the chats. From Meggie, Blue 2. If Puka is out for wide receiver or flex, Coker, Worthy, Keenan, Gainwell, Judy, Fannin, Trey Tucker, Chuba, Dobbs, reading things together, Kayshon Boutte or Whittington there. On that one, I would probably lean toward, it's between Worthy and Keenan Allen. Although technically Fannin might have the highest upside, but I would still lean towards the wide receivers. And between Worthy and Keenan Allen has come down a little bit here, and we still have to kind of figure out where exactly Quentin Johnston is in his injury recovery there. So safe bet there is to go with Worthy. We talked about, again, Rashee Rice. It's possible that Rice could just benefit the offense as a whole. So maybe that would help Worthy get an uptick in volume and maybe, send him downfield for some more big play opportunities there, because Rice is definitely the guy out of the slot. So we should get a little bit more varied usage there for Xavier Worthy. So that will be interesting. But yeah, I would lean towards going with Xavier Worthy on that one. From Eric, QB, Drake May, RB, Wan'Dale Robinson, I'm having reading issues today. Bijan Robinson, Travion Henderson at running back, and then wide receiver Sutton, Keenan Allen, tight end Harold Fannin Jr. Nice flex, Wan'Dale Robinson, Devontae Smith, and then kicker is Chris Boswell. I would still go with Wan'Dale Robinson on there. I'm actually going to drop a video talking about Wan'Dale Robinson tomorrow afternoon-ish. I am still okay with Wan'Dale Robinson despite the matchup with Denver. Reason for that is that more than likely, the matchup for Patrick Surtain is going to go to another receiver there, not Wan'Dale Robinson. He'll play the majority of his snaps out of the slot. They're sending him downfield occasionally, but for the most part there, and which I like. I love the usage that they've adjusted for Wan'Dale. But right now they're primarily using him in the slot. So he probably won't see a lot of Pat Surtain there. And overall, Denver's secondary is just, solid as a whole, right? So no slouch in terms of him getting an easier matchup, but he just won't get that matchup there. So I still feel comfortable with Wan'Dale Robinson over Devontae Smith, especially with the way that Devontae's production has been so incredibly volatile. At least we know we have a nice baseline there for Wan'Dale. He's had 7 targets over the past couple of games. Jackson Dart's volume has not been super high, but he's accurate. He's effective. He's connecting with the receivers well, and Wan'Dale is the wide receiver 1, so I feel good with it. From Larry, should I grab Rachaad White over Walker? Yes, for sure. I would go with Rachaad White over Walker. I have moved Walker back in the rankings, unfortunately, this week. Rachaad is a top 15 back for me. Again, not an ideal matchup. Detroit has been stout against the run. They do allow touchdowns, which is key. With Rachaad White, we're not expecting a ton of volume on the ground, but what we are expecting from him is goal line opportunities there. Obviously, Sean Tucker did contribute there. That was cool. But for the most part, this is still Rachaad White's backfield. And more than anything, he has the receiving upside. And that is critical this week, obviously, because when we're looking at Tampa Bay, we don't know right now, unfortunately, the status of Mike Evans. But we've already know that Godwin is going to be out. It's a foregone conclusion right now that is going to be Emeka is going to be out. So the only person who could even be available is potentially Mike Evans. But again, we don't know on that one. So if we're down all those receivers, obviously there are, young, speedy receivers playing behind all those guys, Tez Johnson, Sterling Shepard, Cameron Johnson, to step up, right? But we could see an uptick in volume to Rachaad White because he is an incredibly reliable receiver as well. So I do like him a lot this week. I have moved Kenneth Walker back to a low-end RB2. Unfortunately, we don't love the matchup with Houston there. So yeah, he's rolling back there. Shout out to Bradley Stalder. What's up? Hope you're doing good. Yeah, we got the Amon-Ra thing from Burkham. Matthew Golden or Tucker in PPR. I would go with they're fairly even for me. Obviously Tucker has the higher ceiling, but I would go with Golden on this one. For the past 3 weeks, we've got Matthew Golden at a nice little baseline here. He's given us a good floor. Like, hey, I love to see it. I love to see a good floor from a rookie here. He's given us a floor of 10 to 13 fantasy points. I will take it. And more so than anything, when I watch Matthew Golden, I'm watching somebody who looks like he can be a wide receiver 1. And I'm watching somebody who it looks like they are trying to push him forward in the offense. And the Packers offense is just being a little weird right now, right? Again, they're moving, but I think we're not getting Jordan Love at his very best right now. But if they continue to push towards Golden, and he's been having a very safe floor here, I feel like eventually we're going to get that boom game from him. And I do think that this week is a possibility for him because this has been a matchup where on the surface, it doesn't seem like a fantastic matchup, but because, from a fantasy point perspective, Arizona has not been giving up a ton of fantasy points to opposing receivers, but it's kind of weighed down, unfortunately, in terms of the average because they have played a lot of bad quarterbacks. I had it pulled up. I was actually looking at this exact thing for Matthew Golden because I'm writing an article and talking about him. The Arizona defense on the surface looks like it's been very good against wide receivers. And to their credit, Will Johnson, obviously rookie, has been fantastic, but it is because they have played a lot of mediocre quarterbacks. Unfortunately, half of their games have been against guys like Cam Ward, Spencer Rattler, and I forget who the third one was. Somebody else, real suspect. So yeah, that's why their average is down. They're actually, when good quarterbacks play against them, wide receivers do have fine days. So this does feel like a game, especially because they've been so bad against the run. We're probably going to get a ton of Josh Jacobs here, get some potential red zone opportunities. And so I would not be shocked if we get Matthew Golden for his first touchdown of the season this year in this game. So yeah, I lean towards Golden on that one. Trey Tucker is very interesting, guys, because remember I mentioned we've got those trade rumors for Jacoby Meyers. So I don't mind. And we got Jacoby Meyers sitting with an injury out of practice today. which is interesting because we didn't have any inclination that he was dealing with an injury. If we've got the trade rumors and a little injury popping up, don't be shocked if this is a situation where we've seen before, where guys that are on the trade block don't actually play if they're legitimately on the trade block because they don't want them to get injured. So they sit them with an injury and don't get traded. So Tucker could actually have high upside. If for some reason Jakobi Meyers does sit out this week, definitely go with Tucker. But if not, Matthew Golden is the one there. Let's see here. From Aji Kumar, pick 2, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex, Rashee, Devontae, Harold Fannin Jr., and QJ. Oh, man. For right now, we're definitely going Rashee and Harold Fannin Jr. Hear me out on this one. It doesn't look like David Njoku was described as day-to-day. Obviously, those of you who are listening on the podcast, you will know when you're listening to this because it drops on Friday. But when we're looking at Harold Fannin Jr., if Njoku is out, I mean, the ceiling is extremely high. Dylan Gabriel cannot hit wide receivers. He cannot throw the ball downfield. Kevin Stefanski's offense very aggressively tilts towards targeting tight ends, and that's just the nature of it, which is why he likes Dylan Gabriel. Like Kevin's, if it seems confusing why Kevin Stefanski is doing the things that he is doing, it is because I believe he is very stubborn and steadfast in the fact that he thinks his system should operate this way, right? We saw it with Baker Mayfield. He thinks his system should operate a certain way, and he does not acquiesce to trying to adjust to the quarterback's preferences, right? Or he can't fit his system to other quarterbacks. So it makes sense that maybe he prefers Dylan Gabriel because Gabriel is somebody who fits his system better. Now, granted, we're not seeing it on the field, but if he wants everything to be targets to tight ends, Dylan Gabriel can do that. He can't get the ball downfield. He's given Jerry Jeudy 13 targets, and Jerry Jeudy is getting nothing. I'm kind of furious over that one, right? Because we were spoiled last year with Jameis Winston. Jameis spoiled us and unlocked the best version of Jerry Jeudy that we've ever seen, and I fear that we will never get it again. Maybe Shadur can come in and give us epic Jerry Jeudy. I don't know, but this is just frustrating. I know it is for you guys too, just because we need to see a better version of this offense. But it does mean that Harold Fannin Jr. has the highest upside of anybody in that offense at this point if David Njoku is out. So, yeah. And you said, is it 2 wide receivers and 1 flex? If it's 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, then it is Rashee, Devontae, and Harold Fannin Jr. because of QJ's injury. But if it's just the 1 wide receiver and 1 flex, it's Rashee and Fannin. If QJ plays and he's healthy and he is cleared on Friday and not a game time decision, then we would go with QJ over Fannin. But thank you for the Superflex chat. Appreciate you. From Shorty, thank you for the Superflex. Where can I improve this team? 12 team, PPR, QBs are May, Darnold, Dart. Okay. RBs are Jacobs, Irving, White, Benson, Carter, and Isaiah Davis. Wide receivers are JSN, Chase, Tat, Iamainer, Booty, Burden, and the tight ends are Warren and Kraft. You know, my first instinct there is that you've got 2 extremely high value tight ends, and I'm not opposed to holding multiple tight ends, especially because I'm not opposed to flexing a tight end as well. But because your wide receivers, you've got 2 superstars there, and then Tet, who is also, generally speaking, a top 24 receiver for us. And your running backs are very solid at this point in terms of you've got 2, right? In terms of right now starting Jacobs and White. And then it's handcuffed right there, White, and you have Irving. So when, Irving is back, you'll have him as well. But you've got a lot of injured players there at running back just for safety because we are about to hit bye weeks. By the way, next week is our 6-week bye-apocalypse. Hate those. But since you have so many injured running backs there, I would probably flip one of those tight ends for an additional running back. Get yourself a nice RB2 that can be a little stable option. Right now, you wouldn't be starting him because Jacobs and White are top 15 running backs. But you can dangle out one of those tight ends and see what you can get there. That's the move that I would make. and or potentially maybe trading one of those quarterbacks there, because Dart has extremely high upside. And maybe you wait a week on this, because I think so Dart plays Denver this week. If Dart can have an excellent game against Denver, I think that will raise him significantly in terms of value there. And it's essentially, for me, Jackson Dart is like the 2025 version of our rookie version of Drake May, right? So you've got two really high upside options there. I am okay with trading one of those away potentially after this week, depending on how Dart looks against Denver. But for right now, advice would be to trade one of those tight ends, dangle them out there for a running back just to solidify yourself. Because again, you've got Benson on IR. He'll be back at some point, but then Michael Carter, and then Isaiah Davis as well. So I would just kind of maybe solidify things up there with a additional RB2 there for sure. But awesome team there. Awesome team. Before we go back to the chats here and answer more questions here, and I appreciate you all in here. We've got a super awesome crowd in here. I'm going to run through these questions, but before I do that, we should probably hear a little word from our sponsors. And I will be right back after this little break.
Oh, so to check in on the Podfather, how's the recovery from the rotator cuff injury coming? Well, it's going great. Playing a round of golf as I did today. Hit him pretty good. Why? The FITBOD app. Because this app creates workout routines specifically for your goals and then tracks your progress and adjusts the workout routine as you build strength, as you build flexibility to ensure that you don't plateau. So if you want to get stronger, if you want to be in better condition, lose weight, recover from an injury, whatever it is, you don't need a personal trainer, because the FitBod app is calibrated by personal trainers. So go to fitbod.me/player, fitbod.me/player. You get 25% off your subscription, or you can try it free for 7 days. So level up your workout routine now. Join FitBod today for a personalized workout plan. Try it free for 7 days, 25% off your subscription at fitbod.me/player.
All right, welcome back. Actually, side note, I actually went, I'm very busy during football season. I had been pretty consistent about going to the gym before September. I was in there like 3 days a week. I was doing pretty good there. It definitely fell off once once we got into week one there. Actually, really even preseason things even kind of started to go a little sideways. But I actually went to the gym today. I was very proud of myself. It was a very light workout because, like LeBron James, I too deal with sciatica. I'm not joking. I'm one of the most injury-prone people you would ever meet. I am an athlete. I am legitimately an athlete. I consider myself athletic. I played 3 varsity sports in high school: basketball, track, and swimming, of all things. So swimming was my best sport. But man, I'm injury-prone. If I can hurt myself in any way, shape, or form, I will do it. I am the I'm the Hollywood Brown of general regular people, right? In terms of getting injured. So yeah, that's a little bit about me there. Back to the questions here. Let's see. From ABM. What's up? So in a 4-point passing touchdown, I have Justin Fields. Yeah. Should I trade for a quarterback like May or grab someone like Darnold? First, yeah, you can grab someone like Darnold for sure, because you're 100%, you got to start somebody else this week. So yeah, head to waivers and grab whatever you can. Darnold is a nice stable option there. But a trade for a quarterback like May for sure would also be a very nice route to go there. So yeah, I hate it. I got Fields in one league, but it's time for us to, his upside is so high, but I do fear of what this is going to look like with Garrett Wilson being out for, they said not super extended. But that could mean 2 to 3 weeks here, and that is kind of rough for us. So we got to prepare to move on. What's up, Mar? Shout out to Big Bando TV. And then from Infinite Pilot, Jacobs for Lamb. Yeah, I'm okay. That's a fairly even trade. I like both sides of that. You get whatever you need on that one. Obviously, Josh Jacobs is an incredibly steady RB1. Volume is there for him. Goal line opportunities are there for him. But Lamb also from and this is why I consider them very equal. And really, quite frankly, I hold Lamb to a little higher regard, but running backs are at a premium right now. So even though wide receiver injuries are driving us crazy too. So honestly, maybe both positions are at an equal premium. It's the tight end position that is thriving, I guess. But yeah, Lamb's production that we saw earlier in the season, I feel like that was just, the floor that we were seeing. I don't think those were ceiling games. Dak is performing at a really high level there. I'm happy for him. I want good things for Dak. Probably not going to be a winner this year again, but it won't be because of him, because it'll be because of the defense. And luckily for us, the defense is making him throw like a maniac. And so he is just getting out there and very effectively chucking the ball. He's chucking the ball, man, but he's not doing he's not haphazard. This is this is tactical. He looks excellent there. So touchdowns, obviously we're tilting towards George Pickens here, but volume, I mean, we should expect 10 plus targets for CeeDee Lamb. Crossing our fingers we get him back this week. But if not, it'll definitely be next week here. Thank you, Jose Hidalgo. Really appreciate it. From Big Mando TV, am I wrong for Cam Ward? Cam Ward, 4T Higgins, and a dynasty trade, then at wide receiver. I don't think so. I don't think you're wrong for that. Ward has potential on down the line, but unfortunately, the Titans have proved why they continue to be a little defunct organization. They make bad choices. We already got the rumors floated that their targets would be, from a coaching perspective, their targets would be either Matt Nagy and Arthur Smith at the top of the list. And I'm just like, poor Cam Ward. Maybe, my dear, you will get out of the organization and have your Baker Mayfield track, but it might not. The cards might not be aligned for you right now. So yeah, that's a fine trade. Quite frankly, even in Superflex, I'm kind of like, because when I did my rookie drafts, I refused to draft Cam Ward. And in one league, man, we danced around. Everyone danced around Cam Ward in the weirdest way possible. I mean, we were just drafting anything and everything over Cam Ward. I bypassed him in another league and then waited until the second round and drafted Jackson Dart. There was just no way, unfortunately. Just bad situation for him. From Alec, 122, 12 team, full PPR with points per target. Daniel Jones, David Montgomery, JT, Tet, Nico, BTJ, Laporta, and Trey Benson on IR. Oh, yeah. I don't mind that at all. I don't think that you need to, from a starting lineup perspective, I don't see any major issues in terms of needing to make any moves. I like that lineup. From Meggie Blue 2. Oh, we did that one there. From C Mass. Start Addison or Golden in PPR this week. I spoke glowingly about Golden this week, but I would still start Addison over Golden. Addison sometimes will give you a heart attack, right? In terms of his production, because it might not come early. It might be a fourth quarter thing, but hey, man, he's somebody that just comes through, right? Oh, thank you, Mark. Yeah, I'm Tuesday or Wednesday, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. EST live. So it's a very consistent schedule for you guys. And I feel like and I love the chat aspect of this, of everyone just coming in, dropping your questions, because even if it's not your specific question, right? It just, the general information in general, just for start sits is I enjoy it. And I enjoy the theme of this show. From Jason Ortiz, would you trade Ladd, Meyers, Swift for his Nico / Harrison? My RBs are Barkley, Kyron, Javonte with White and Rico spot starts. And then wide receivers are London, Sutton, Evans, Terry. If it helps, I never started Meyers. Yeah, and even if he gets traded, I don't think you will. Because realistically, Evans, we saw Evans come back from a hamstring. I know it makes people uncomfortable, and we should have some level of, risk concern, right? With Mike Evans coming back from a hamstring injury when you're like 32 years old, right? But we saw him come back from a hamstring injury last year and came back even better than he was before. Quite frankly, put up better numbers because that was when he came back from the hamstring injury. Godwin was out, so he had to take on a bigger workload as the wide receiver one with zero help there. Tampa Bay seems like just a very responsible organization in terms of being cautious with their injuries there. So I trust them to hold out Mike Evans for a proper timing and for him to come back at full strength there. So I think overall, and I know it's obviously frustrating with Sutton because occasionally, depending on the matchup there, the floor can get a little shaky there. But as a wide receiver too, perfectly fine to lean on. So you'll have Evans back. And then Terry coming back. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what type of production he returns to. But you don't have to start him. But it's still, that's I hold him in higher regard than I do Jakobi Meyers at this point. Unless Meyers gets, and even thinking of what kind of situation Meyers could be traded into, realistically, what is the level of production that there is going to be there? So for that, I'm perfectly fine with trading Meyers for sure of that grouping. I don't mind trading Swift in that grouping as well either. And Ladd, I don't think you have to sell Ladd right now, but I think he's worth holding on to there. But I'm fine trading Swift as well, because at this point you could sell very high on him coming off of this game. Looked fantastic, and it looked fantastic in what was a pretty decently difficult matchup there. Washington hasn't been giving up a ton of volume on the ground there, so you can trade them and, dangle and get something very high there. So any of those are very tradable for me. For Maggie Boo 2, waiver, Kendre Miller for Chuba Hubbard. If so, how much? My concern there for Chuba is that, again, they might low-key be in a similar situation, but Chuba in the better offense there, technically, although, to his credit, Spencer Rattler has been decent there. So I will give him that. Spencer Rattler has not, the team is suspect, but Spencer Rattler has been adequate there. I kind of lean towards, especially because we think this is going to be a committee there. I don't mind making that move, but I wouldn't bid aggressively on it, just because if you don't end up getting him, it's perfectly fine, I think, to stick it out with Kendre Miller because of the trade rumors for Alvin Kamara as well. But obviously you have to make that move right now. So I might bid 5 to 10%, maybe. I wouldn't go all out to get him, because if you don't end up with him and someone outbids you, it's not a big deal, to be quite frankly. I would take that risk for Kendre. For Mar, first game back, would you start Rice over T-Mac? Yes, I would. Yeah. I already have him ranked higher. Generally, projections in general are higher for Rice as well. We feel very positively about him coming back here and getting immediately peppered with targets from Patrick Mahomes, who looks like the Patrick Mahomes of like 3 years ago. I don't know what Patrick did in this offseason, man, but he looks like a completely different player than we have seen from a fantasy perspective over the past couple of years there, where he's kind of, fallen out of favor for us. But he is running. He is putting up those points. So, yeah. Owen Daniels, Jalen Coker, Luther Burden, Darnell Mooney, and Christian Watson available on waivers. Pick 2. Who do you think should be rostered there? So long term, my lean towards something about so I would probably take the chance with Darnell Mooney over Christian Watson. So first priority is Jalen Coker for sure. That one's the non-question mark there. Rest of season, he's my preference there over really any of those guys. If we need somebody specifically for this week, lean towards Luther Burden, just because, again, when we're looking at Luther Burden, DJ Moore injury there. And also DJ Moore has been low-key floated around as a potential trade candidate as well. Just, speculation. There's no real smoke around that, but it's something that people theorize. But Luther Burden might, have a pretty decent uptick in volume for a streaming option this week. So if you need someone this week, you could go that direction. But rest of season, it would be Coker and then one of Darnell Mooney and Christian Watson. My lean there is to go with Darnell Mooney. He's been very frustrating, banged up, dealing with injuries. I don't know if maybe this is just the season that is not working for him, but we know the ceiling that Mooney has when he is healthy is higher than Christian Watson's. We know there's a limitation to Christian Watson. Romeo Doubs and Matthew Golden have been very adequate at this point, so I do trust them in general. And Christian Watson coming in is not going to dominate And then at some point, hopefully we'll have Jaden Reed back. So Darnell Mooney is probably the lean for me in that direction. I should probably pick up the pace here a little bit here. Daniel Fox, should I give up on Chase Brown yet? No. At the very least, so we didn't get those checkdowns. That was something. We didn't get those checkdowns that I was expecting for Chase Brown, but at the very least, that was his best performance in terms of an efficiency perspective, his best yards per carry of the season. So if we're getting, hopefully the hope there is that the offensive line is still going to be bad, right? But if Joe Flacco can air the ball out a little bit more successfully and be more of a threat, it can open things up in terms of more run lanes there for Chase Brown. So I'm holding out positivity and hope there for him. So we're still holding on to Chase Brown, but he is more of a flex play right there. He is definitely not a must start by any way, shape, or form. And it is okay to bench him. CMAS, I'm starting Cade Otton this week, but trying to decide what tight end to pick up beyond this week. Theo Johnson, AJ Barner, or Gadsden. I lean towards Theo Johnson because we've got again, granted, last week was not the best indicator there. We thought we might see an uptick in volume for him with the injury to Malik Neighbors. It really didn't happen because we got it before, but inconsistency is okay there. My lean is Theo Johnson. Barner has been awesome, but, we look for touchdowns from him to really get him there. And then Gadsden, I love. We finally got to really see that upside last week, but he falls behind the other three because he has far more competition, unfortunately. So that means there are games where, and the good news is that he does seem to have the edge over Will Dissly in them, but at the end of the day, he does not have the edge over Quentin, Ladd, and Keenan. So it just puts you at fourth in pecking order, makes you inconsistent there, unfortunately. Nate Bonifield, a few tight ends this year were the bane of fantasy football teams. Now it's committee RBs. Yeah, and that's why, and that's why, like, my draft strategy heading into the season was, and there have obviously, it hasn't been perfect from running backs, but heavy, early, robust RB. Lockdown, just lockdown. If you got that running back that you can draft in round one, lock it down. Round two running backs have been, aside from Chase Brown, which unfortunately, that's a weird anomaly of Joe Burrow going down. If Joe didn't go down, we would have still got, our Chase Brown that we were looking for there. But for the most part, those high-end running backs have come through. So this was like a interesting, robust RB year coming through here, which probably tells you that next year it'll be the opposite. We got to lean into the receiver. It always flips back and forth, right? But yeah, tight ends coming through this year. You'll love to see it. Randomly, finally. Maybe it'll stick. Because they're getting more athletic, people. They're getting more athletic. They're getting smaller. They're getting more agile. They're getting quicker. They're getting more athletic. And there are some prospects out there in college. From Sam Silverman, would you rather roster Kendre Miller or Isaiah Davis? Kendre Miller for sure. Again, honestly, the New Orleans offense has been running better than the Jets offense, ironically, there. And then Kendre has the, multiple paths towards being the RB1 there, since we still have the trade deadline potential. From Mar, I have Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones on waivers. Do I drop him? Do I drop Sharps for him? Okay, Mason's on waivers, and Jordan and Aaron Jones on waivers. So I dropped Sharps for him. My other running backs are Mark, Spears, Harvey, and I have Coker in my IR spot. Yeah, I would drop Sharps for Jordan Mason. Aaron Jones should theoretically be back at some point. And when he returns, though, Jones has value in PPR, but again, that early down work and the goal line touches are going to go to Jordan Mason. It's not going to change on that. That's the way that Minnesota wants it. Kevin O'Connell, the Kevin we like. Kevin O'Connell is pretty steady in terms of being very straightforward. And the vision there really is that they want Jordan Mason at the goal line. So he still has strong play at RB2 there. From Nate, Bone and Fans, Keenan isn't playing in wide receiver 2 sets, which is why Ladd is bouncing back. Yeah, I wonder if they actively decided to make that choice there. Very, very interesting there. They could also be trying to make sure that they preserve Keenan and don't overwhelm him, which makes sense because Keenan's, even when he was having the early aggressive production there that was high upside, he still wasn't playing more snaps than Ladd or Quentin Johnston there. So might just be a little bit bad luck there, but it makes sense that they're, not putting that aggressive workload on him. So his snap count just remains, a little bit lower than everybody else there. Does limit the potential upside. Let's see here. And then from Nate, flatly, what do I do? Nate again, flatly, what do I do with Ferguson? Usage with CD was good, but I'm, nervous. And then have three other powerhouse teams have Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, and Tyler Warren there. The upside was good, but it obviously, look, he's not going to put up these numbers, right? With CD Lamb back. But it should still be solid. I think he should still be in line with, and then I am legitimately concerned about Bowers, but I think it should still be in line with that of Trey McBride on a normal day, and not with Jacoby Brissett, who apparently they, adjusted the offense to make it work. That apparently just worked for Trey McBride. I don't know, weird situation there. But Ferguson will still be fairly reliable there. Dak's volume is not going to change, so we have Jerry Jones destroying the defense to thank for that. So you should be okay there. I know it'll come down a little bit, but you'll still be fine there. From John B, thoughts on Superflex? Who does Superflex? It's Fannin, Cup, Marks, or Coker. It is between Fannin and Cup there. Cup has been a wee bit inconsistent there, and then again, I do kind of lean towards Fannin if we have Njoku out. Yeah, that's my lean there. Cup, obviously, when we look at this matchup with Houston, they are fairly stout from a defensive perspective. Cup overall is still giving us mediocre production, even though, he got the touchdown last week, but it's still just kind of, it's there. So Fannin is the one that I would go with on that one. From Miami Martian, good evening, Territorial. Update on that lineup that you helped me out with last week. No, we did not win 2-4 on to week 7. We'll get you right there. You're still in it. From CMAS, thoughts on holding Brashard Smith. Many have dropped, but I can't help but wonder if Rice returning, he may get more time spreading the field. Yeah, and Rice's return could help everyone in general. Again, like when we saw Jordan Addison return from the suspension, it helped everybody, right? Addison came back and we just got hyper targeting to Justin Jefferson because having, a full lineup there allows more flexibility. Rice coming back should allow us to see Xavier Worthy spread, go deep and just kind of help lengthen things out there in general. So we should see this offense uptick in production overall. It's tough because with Brashard Smith, it's tough because there are so many good options out there on waivers in terms of handcuffs that are just one injury away from an RB1 role. And Brashard Smith is unfortunately not one injury away. And we also have Patrick Mahomes, who is running like a maniac there. So I do, if you can hold on to him, yay. But if not, don't feel bad about it. I love him. I love him as a prospect. I believe in him. But to some degree, we might have to let go just because of the nature of the involvement of continued involvement of Kareem Hunt there. And shout out to John B for encouraging the likes to show some love for the show. Appreciate you so much. Thank you. And shout out to you, Fantasy Good Sports. I appreciate you. First of all, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you. And then thank you for the super chat. You're awesome. Let's get back here. Where were we? We were at, I want to see, I'm trying to make it through all of the comments, but we have a ton here, a ton. I was at, geez, I don't know. Where are we at? We were at, there we go. We were at CMAS and then John B. And then the Hound House, would you trade JSN for Chase? I would not. Chase has the higher ceiling, right? For sure. But JSN is more stable. Now, granted, we do see not so awesome games for JSN, but the connection between him and Sam Darnold is so strong. Darnold is operating the offense at such a high level. I would prefer to hold on to JSN. Yeah, you were off. Yeah, I would hold on to JSN. From Eric, dropping The Lions defense for KC, I think that's perfectly fine. From John B. The Hound, to get or give away. Oh, yeah. You were asking if it was getting or giving away. Giving away JSN. Yeah, we prefer, we prefer the JSN side of that. Miles Logan, 91. I mean, I love Chase. Again, like I say, hey, Chase was a buy. He's expensive now. So he's not like, and that trade is a good example of how expensive he's gotten, that you're sitting there someone's asking you for JSN for Chase. That's, the trade value. Unfortunately, the window has probably closed there, but we had a nice little buy window for him before there. But from Miles Logan, 91, what in the world do we do with TreVeyon Henderson? Oh, no. I was just able to get in here. I don't know if you already got this one today. I have not. This is the first time that we have talked about TreVeyon Henderson, so thank you. And I'm behind on chats. I gotta keep up here, go a little faster. This is always my bane. The show is supposed to end at 8 o'clock, but I get there and I'm like, oh my God, I still have a bunch of chats left. I got to get to the chats because I don't want to leave you guys hanging. But luckily I can stay an extra 10 minutes here or so because I did get my kids ready for bed before the show because I was awesome and on it today. I went to the gym. I got my work done. I filmed a video and posted and I got, my kids ready for bed before the show and started the show on time. Bam, I'm a superstar today. Miles, what are we doing with TreVeyon Henderson here? We can't start him. Maybe you can package him up in a trade and hope that somebody still believes, but man, this is rough. It really is. Josh McDaniels is just not trustworthy in any way, shape, or form. So I don't think he's a drop because but the problem is Ramondre has been incredibly reliable in terms of health. So it's just it's rough. It depends on what's out there on waivers, but unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do with him right now other than package him up with a receiver and try to trade him. We can't start him. From Eric, are we dropping Torrey Horton for Bam Night? Yeah, I would. Long-term, love Horton. I do think it's inconsistent. The fact that Kupp has, stayed, and granted, injuries have hit him year after year, so it could be coming there. And if he goes down, Horton is, a high upside player there. But if you would have the potential of starting Bam Knight right now, I would drop him. Also for the reason that you could technically find trade value for Bam Knight as well. So I would lean that direction of making that move. From Melinda, Superflex, which two QBs to start if Wentz starts? So it would be Wentz to start. Wentz if he starts, Purdy or Mac Jones, then Penix or Gabriel. So between Purdy and Mac Jones, whichever one starts, I would play that one. Again, the 49ers are just throwing for the most ridiculous amount of volume. Theoretically, my preference is Mac Jones. I'm not going to lie there. But yeah, whichever one starts, that's cool. I would go with that one there. And then between Penix and Carson Wentz is interesting. I don't, Philadelphia's defense has been a little suspect there. But I think I still lean towards Penix there. San Francisco dealing with all the injuries. It's Penix that I would go with. Dylan Gabriel has a fantastic matchup, but I still can't get there on him. So I would go with the healthy we're going to San Francisco 49ers, Atlanta Falcons game it up here. Going to go with whatever 49ers quarterback is active. And then we're going to go with Michael Penix on that one. Eric, picking up Josh Downs and dropping Kendre Miller. If you need to drop Downs, yeah. But again, I still hold out hope that Miller has this upside coming with the potential trade there. But the more startable option for your needs this week, for sure, it is Josh Downs. And then drop Bashal Tootin for Tutu Atwell. That's a mouthful on that one. Yes, I would do that. Ultimately, we don't know how long this injury is going to be for Puka Nacua. Atwell could have value there, so I'm fine with that. From Nathan, thank you. I appreciate that. Who would you start, Chuba or Woody? Woody is an interesting one because I'm actually going to write about Nick Chubb because it feels like it's been 5,000 years since we've seen Woody Martin because we got the bye week. It feels like it's been 5,000 years since we've actually seen them in a competitive matchup because we didn't see either one of them be successful really in week, was it 5 against Baltimore, unfortunately, because it was just such a blowout. I would play it safe. If Chuba, well, granted, Chuba is coming back from an injury, so that does kind of have a caveat in it. So right now, I would have Woody in my starting lineup. Then I would pay attention and see if we get any news in terms of the snap count that Chuba Hubbard is going to have, because for all we know, he comes back and he's limited there. So we'll try and pay attention to the rumors and see if we can get any tips there in terms of potential limitations for Chuba. We know that it might be a committee as well. So my lean right now is for Woody just to play it safe. But if we get news that Chuba is a full go with no limitations, then I would go that direction with Chuba, even in a committee. From Burkham, are any of the wide receivers for the Rams startable? Worth starting apart from Devontae Adams? How about Tyler Higbee? Higbee is interesting because we saw the uptick with Puka Nacua out, which makes sense theoretically. I still don't trust Higbee. We have seen Terrence Ferguson be a little bit involved. They still have my boy from Clemson, and I'm blanking on his name, and that's terrible. I feel very bad. I'm so sorry, Clemson tight end in LA Rams. I'm sorry that I have forgotten you, right? Davis Allen. Sorry, Davis. Oh my God. I don't trust that it would be consistently Tyler Warren, so I would lean towards one of the receivers. You can go with Tutu. You can go with Jordan Whittington. My waiver ad preference was Jordan Whittington just because I think he ultimately offers the higher upside. I think that we should get some kind of information over the next couple of weeks in terms of who would be stepping up. So yeah, I don't think that you have to put in a priority claim for either one of them right now. Just kind of wait, hear it out. They might be startable in a deep league, but I think we are going to get here's the thing, all of the red zone targets should go to Devontae. He has the highest red zone targets in the league right now, and that is even with Puka Nacua being healthy. Matt Stafford gets into the end zone and he looks for Devontae Adams. They just haven't connected very well for some reason. I don't know. They're just, not on the same page. I guess they're working on that chemistry there, but the upside there is definitely for Adams. So keep that in mind. Gary Lee, did I talk about Josh Reynolds yet? I did not talk about Josh Reynolds. He will be, here's the thing about Josh Reynolds. I do trust him to be the wide receiver one for Justin Jefferson. We know that the wide receiver one gets heavily peppered from, I said Justin Jefferson, Justin Fields. We know that the wide receiver one gets heavily peppered with Justin Fields. So I think he's worth a flex play on that one for sure. Matchup is not ideal. I do worry about him. The volume, it's shaky for Justin Fields at this point. So it's a low-end flex play that I prefer in deeper leagues. But I do think that he and Mason Taylor are the ones that are going to benefit here. Ideally, maybe we get some more checkdowns to Breece Hall. But we haven't gotten it to the level that I thought we would here. So again, it's just difficult to rely on. But yeah, Josh Reynolds is interesting as a deep league ad. Should definitely be the wide receiver one there. I don't think that there's competition from any of the other wide receivers. From Burkham, thoughts on Woody Marks coming back from a bye? So the thing about Woody Marks in that Baltimore game, it was such a blowout that I don't think that's an accurate representation of what their backfield would look like in general. They were experimenting. We saw it was a blowout to the point where they had Dameon Pierce in there. We know that's not real production. So I don't trust what we saw out of that Baltimore matchup there in order to say, hey, I think we just need to move on from Woody. I think do we start him this week? Not unless you're in a situation where you're in a deeper league and you have to. But at the very least, I do think it should remain, at the very least, like a 50-50 committee there and in a more competitive game, which should be this week. There should be no Dameon Pierce, so it'll look a lot prettier than it did before. So look at it as a committee between him and Chubb. And he, the more effective back at this point in Chubb's career. And then, it should just be a 50-50 split there. Shout out to the place to be with the wonderful comment there with the chat saying what's up to all these amazing and beautiful people there. 100%. Shout out to Nick Torin with the super chat. I appreciate it. I love the compliments. It makes me feel good that you guys are loving the content here. So thank you. Thank you so much. From Big Bando TV, let's see if I can catch up here. I don't know if I can. Assuming no Puka. These four need two: DJ Moore, Trey Tucker, K. Dotton, Chubb, and Whittington. Yeah, DJ Moore has the injury issue. Trey Tucker, and then I would probably play it safe and go with Nick Chubb on that one. From Larry, do you start Knicks versus the Giants or Daniel Jones versus the Chargers in 2QB? 2QB, you're starting Jaden Daniels. Giants defense has been fairly adequate. I don't want to lie to you. I believe I have. Where are you at, Bo? I have Bo 2 spots higher. No, 1 spot higher. I have Bo 1 spot higher than Daniel Jones this week. And let me double check if that is consensus viewpoint on that one. Yep. That's general consensus rankings as well. So yeah, we go with Bo over Daniel Jones. The place to be, I'd ask start sit questions but all my teams are seeing red and I have practice squad players. You don't deserve the mental distress I'm experiencing. I feel you on that one because man, the injuries have hit so hard this year. I have, and granted, this is like a big tournament, so in weird, deeper lineups and settings. But I have one, my Scott Fishbowl team. I have, I lost Kittle, I lost Tyreek Hill, I lost Jaden Reed. Who else did I lose? I lost somebody else. Went down with an injury. I can't remember, man. But I'm like someone else critical because I lost 3 of my first 4 picks. So who was it? It was Kittle, Tyreek. And then Lamar. It's been an ugly, and that was super flex. So I was kind of DOA there. I'm hanging on by a thread. I think I can still make the playoffs, but I don't know, man. This is a rough year for us, man. The injuries make me sad. Nate, manifesting Andrews to the Bucks so bad. Let's manifest Andrews to anywhere else. That would benefit us like 10 times over. Morgan. What's up, Morgan? Is Scary Terry a must start against the Cowboys if he plays this week? Yeah, I low-key kind of think he is. I know and it'll feel uncomfortable, right? Because he's been so dreadful, but everyone and anyone has been good against the Cowboys, so I'm perfectly okay with it. At the very least, he's got to be a flex option for us, right? Tokyo Thrift, what's up? Just got offered this trade. CMC and Henderson for Devontae and Scat. I would get CMC. My other running backs are Genty, Monty, and Hampton. Should I accept? Yes. Yeah. Again, Henderson, unfortunately, does not offer us any value right now, but you have Genty and Monty. So, and then at some point, cross your fingers. We'll get Hampton back here. So you don't need Henderson. You're really just trading that to get CMC, right? And then Henderson is a nice little bench warmer that could be something if Ramondre goes down with an injury. I think that's very reasonable to get CMC. I think I said CMC. I think I'm tired. I woke up at 5 a.m. and I'm pretty sure I went to bed at like 12 or 1 p.m. I have poor sleep habits, guys. That needs to change. Y'all need to comment on my videos at like 12 a.m. and just be like, hey, Tara, go to bed. Because my alarm goes off at 5 a.m. every single morning. And that's a weird choice that I make. I don't know. It is what it is. Sometimes I accidentally wake up before then. It's hyperactivity or something. And too much coffee. Para Waiko. I don't know if I can say this right. Pareko. Yeah. Trade Bucky or Genty for Javonte. I'm 6-0 and I have Rachaad White. No. I think you should I could trade Bucky for Genty. I don't know if I would do it for Javonte. Maybe Genty because pure volume and he has been coming through for sure. But Bucky, the injury is very ambiguous. He's already been ruled out. You have Rachaad White. I am more inclined to say because you've got the handcuff option that, hey, just stick with it. But to trade for Genty, I think is perfectly fine. It would kind of also depend on what your starting lineup actually looks like, but I think that's reasonable. Burkham, pick 2, rest of season. Andrews, Pitts, Otten, and Barner. Pitts, and then Pitts and Andrews. I'm gonna hold out hope. It's tough. Theoretically, I should say Barner, right? But because we've never seen this production from Barner, I low-key feel like a little a little skeptical there of it sticking rest of season. And at least like I feel like we did see that back half upside. Like remember, this was right about the time that Mark Andrews started getting hot last season. So I would not be shocked if he comes back and he's hot. From Sean Bonds, one wide receiver. Excuse me. One wide receiver rest of season PPR. Coleman, Hunter, Booty, Coker, Bond. It is. I lean towards. My bias is showing on this one. I lean towards Coker on that one. I will be honest, my bias is showing on that one. I am very much so a Jalen Coker stan. Theoretically, I should say Travis Hunter over Coker because Hunter obviously has, extreme talent upside there that could come through, but we don't ultimately know. I think the split and getting reps on both sides is kind of just hurting his overall upside. It's between Coker and Hunter. Logic says you could go with Hunter. My heart says Coker. And from Rodney Santana, appreciate the super chat, by the way. Rodney Santana, Kenneth Walker, buy or sell? A sell right now if somebody will purchase him. Yeah. If somebody will purchase him, sell Kenneth Walker, unfortunately. Again, just the split is not going to end. I do trust he's the more talented back, and it's frustrating. He's the more talented back. He's the more efficient back. He's the more effective back. Statistics prove it there, but I do not think they're acquiescing on using Charbonnet as well. It is what it is, unfortunately. And they're literally splitting carries evenly in the red zone. We should get some increased luck in terms of, better, more advantageous red zone opportunities for Kenneth Walker, but the split makes it very frustrating there. So if somebody is willing to sell him, I do think that that's a possibility there. If you're able to do that, for sure. From Paul Gregory, with Josh Allen on a bye, I'm going with Joe Flacco. Am I crazy? Daniel Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Sam Darnold, and Aaron Rodgers all available on waivers. My gut says Flacco. I get why your gut says Flacco for sure. But I still definitely lean toward, because again, he's got, your gut says Flacco because he's throwing to Jamar Chase and Joe Flacco, right? I mean, Jamar Chase and T Higgins. So, but no, I would go with Daniel Jones on that one. Daniel Jones is the one that I trust the most there for sure. From Mar, Jordan Mason or Aaron Jones rest of season, it's Mason for me. Unless you're in a league that gets, extra points for, catching first downs specifically, it's going to be Mason that's going to have the advantage there. Rides and Wades, Henry to the Chargers. Probably not. That would be amazing, but probably not. Be a little dream for us. But I do think we're going to just be patient. After the bye week, we get Lamar Jackson back. The schedule softens up. We're going to have Derrick Henry back on the table here. Trust me on that one. Jordan Elliott. Are we holding Walker? We are selling if we can. It's not defunct. Last week was obviously a bad week for everybody. It was just a bad matchup in general. It's not like he got outperformed by Charbonnet. But low-end RB2 is basically what we're looking at, unfortunately, with occasional upside, if he is able to get that touchdown opportunity there. So it's very frustrating, very frustrating. But there's a buy low market for him for sure, with everyone dealing with the running back injuries. From BB or VBZ2X, Rico or Vidal, full PPR. I do like Vidal a lot this week. But it all depends on Chuba Hubbard. If Chuba is out, then I would go with Rico. If not, then I would go with Kamani Vidal. And then also from the same commenter, Harvey is on waivers. Pick up one and drop Spears, Sharp, Fannin, or none. None. I mean, theoretically, the one that you would drop for him would be Spears. At this time, the upside is way too high for Fannin. So again, on that one, I do kind of lean towards if you're dropping one, Spears. They're both handcuffs. Spears has more standalone value, but Harvey is the higher upside handcuff there. So If you want to just keep the, go with the higher upside handcuff there, then yeah, maybe drop Spears for Harvey. And then same, also tripping. I think Spears is going to be gonna be chunk down magnet or check down magnet for Cam. Tony is washed. I love Tony, but unfortunately he does not benefit in, which is crazy because he is a legitimately good pass catcher. Like if we remember back into like electric Tony Pollard playing opposite of Ezekiel Elliott, man, what a time to be alive. That feels like so long ago. Way back when Zeke was still, you remember that year he was cooked, but he was still falling in the end zone constantly. Man, what a time to be alive. Yeah, Tony Pollard has good pass catching upside, but they're not using him in that way. So yeah, unfortunately, while I love Tony Pollard, he's been fine this season. He just gets the short end of the stick, unfortunately, when Spears is in there. From Nick, thank you for the compliment. Time to give up on Tyler Warren or Kittle. Have both and try to get. Oh, you mean for trade? Yeah, to trade and get Judkins, Jacobs, plus Ibuka or Pearsall. Huh. I'm not sure I understand. But I do think that the time is right to trade one of them. We are close enough to being pretty sure that Kittle is coming back here. I trust that Kyle Shanahan, the Jawan Jennings playing through injury. I will not credit myself with this. Someone commented and made a really good point that you got to remember he got that contract and he is playing for incentives. So he is not sitting because he is playing for incentives, which is sad. But for the most part, I trust Kyle Shanahan to hold players until they're 100% ready to go. So we should be getting Kittle back full force there. So trade one of them for sure. Let's see here. From Nate, who you trading? Who is trading you, Josh Jacobs, or who is trading you, Josh Jacobs for Kittle? I'll start Mark Andrews rest of season. Ooh, for that kind of return on a tight end. Yeah, and I would say you don't even need to start Mark Andrews. You would just go to waivers and stream, whatever is the best available matchup. Hell, hey, you might go to a Cade Otton. Go to waivers and grab a Cade Otton. With all these with all those wide receivers out down there in Tampa. So yeah, I don't mind that at all. I hate to give up Kittle, but you're getting, if you need a running back, yeah. And then stream it tight end. I'm not mad at that. From Kay, Rashard Smith, Kyle Monunga, Tyron Tracy, Jaden Blue are all RB stashes that I've been dropping the whole season. None of them are popping as expected. Yeah, it's frustrating. I think we need to give up hope on Tyrone Tracy. Scattaboo he is for real. Blue is purely a handcuff there. But now here's a good thing. Miles Sanders is on IR. It's done. So Jaden Blue is the direct handcuff to Javonte Williams. If anything happens to Javonte, Jaden Blue goes into a massive upside situation. So I'm still a hold on Jaden. Kyle Monunga, same kind of situation there. Rashard, unfortunately, I do think that we got to give up on just because it's three-man backfield. He's so talented, but there's only so much volume, right? From Nate, I held Smith over taking a chance on Vidal last week, and oh no, and then had to spend $27 of fab last night. Biggest L of the season to date. I'm not proud of it. Hey, it happens to all of us. I drafted Arondé Gadsden in multiple deep tight end leagues, 2 tight end league and then tight end premium league. And I dropped him after multiple weeks of him being inactive. I was like, whoop, okay, that's not happening. Then he goes off and then I had to run to waivers and spend money to get him. Got him, but I had to spend to get it. Very frustrating, right? So we all do it. Jeff Rogers, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex, full PPR. Mason, Booty, Bourne. Bourne. Yeah, we're going Bourne there. Shout out to 408 Thomas with the heart. Jose Rodriguez, flex 1 between Bourne, Brees, Kittle, and you have Tyler Warren. I still think that Bourne is the one that has the highest upside. I don't know that we're getting Ricky back. So as long as we don't get Ricky back, and quite frankly, we're getting Kittle back, but Tonjes had already been super involved there. So basically we've seen Bourne with a very active tight end. So I don't think obviously Kittle will do more. But we shouldn't see a massive downtick in production. From my perspective, I'm treating Kendrick Bourne as if he is playing over Juwan Jennings at this point. We've got enough evidence here. Juwan's playing through injuries, bless his heart. I feel bad for him. I wish he would be able to sit down and, take a little break there, but he is and on the field, and Kendrick Bourne has just been better. So yeah, I would still lean towards Kendrick Bourne if Ricky is out on that one. If Ricky plays, then that does, dilute it down a little bit there to where I would probably lean towards, Brees on that one. Jose Rodriguez, 2 RB, 1 flex, Gibbs, HN, Brees, Mason, Bourne, Kittle. Yeah, for 2 RBs, we're for sure going Gibbs and HN on that one. And then for flex, again, between Brees, Mason, Bourne and Kittle on that one. Again, I do lean again the Ricky. If Ricky is out again, then I lean Bourne on that one. The upside is just too high. I also do want Mac Jones at quarterback, by the way. Caveat there. Not that I don't trust Brock Purdy to funnel us some volume to Kendrick Bourne, but still we need Mac. We need Mac. If no Mac, then we're going with Brees there. Yeah. And then one more from you. You can pick up Carter, who was kicked. Yeah, no, I don't think you need to. I don't think you need to pick up Carter. I don't think it's necessary for you. Joseph Massey, Knicks, Daniel Jones, or Love full PPR. It is Knicks for me that I have. Well, let me make sure where Love is. No, I take that back. I do have Jordan Love higher. I thought I had Knicks higher. I've got Jordan Love 2 spots higher there. And then K, Isaiah Davis is the best RB stash right now. Hopefully Brees gets traded. Yeah. Oh my God, the Jets are in such a bad position. I genuinely feel bad because I like Aaron Glenn. I like Justin Fields. I like Garrett Wilson. I like these people. Like, how you just have teams with people you just like. You say just like, hey, man, they're just likable people. They're likable people. I like them. I want better for them. But it's a bad situation. So yeah, reality is that Brees is still a trade candidate there. I don't think they have to, again, because when we're looking at Brees, the injury to Braylon Allen does make a difference there. But contract year obviously makes him a trade candidate. But we got to remember with running backs, it's not expensive to franchise tag them, so they could have that plan as well. But yeah, I think Isaiah Davis is a very, very excellent stash for the potential of a trade there. We heard that they're going to be, I think we're going to have a potentially hot trade deadline. Maybe I need to go, I don't know, maybe I'll do some like spot lives if there's like trade drama coming in, if I have the ability to, because I think we could be getting some, it could be an active trade season here. From VB2X, would you trade Olave and Golden for Judkins? Your team is Goff, Hampton, Vinal, Henry, Rico, Bam Knight, Sharp, London, Pickens, Olave, Debo, Golden, McBride. Yes, I would do that. I'm okay with that. Olave has been very solid. Again, Spencer Rattler has been very solid. makes the Saints regret spending that second on they should have regretted that from the moment they did that. That was irresponsible. But regret drafting Tyler Shuck there. But yeah, Olave has been solid, but Judkins, we feel really, really good about him for sure. From K is Arian Smith a great pickup? I do think that Justin Fields is going to favor Josh Reynolds there. And then at the end of the day, I don't know if we have a ton of faith in Justin Fields anyway there, unfortunately, regarding his volume, unfortunately. So it's an okay pickup in deep leagues, but I don't feel super comfortable with it. From Shorty, who would you prefer to flex? Whittington, Booty, Coker, or Burden? If DJ Moore is out, sorry, I'm making the table shake. If DJ Moore is out, then Luther Burden. If not, then I want to see where this goes with Kayshon Boutte. I'm not going to lie there. But also, if we get news that Jalen Coker is going to be on a full snap count, that would also affect that. So preference is DJ Moore is out, Burden. Carolina tells us that Coker will play with no limitations, then Coker, then Boutte, and then Whittington, just because with Whittington and, maybe Tutu, it's kind of like more up in the air there. From Spiderweb TV, Chase or Samuel? Chase, for sure. I lost Burrow neighbor. Oh God, I lost Burrow neighbors in Hampton, but I'm still for it too. Nice, still Bill. Excellent work there. You got to keep it pushing, right? From Eric. Should I start Travion Henderson or Bam Knight? Bam Knight. Bam Knight. We can't trust Travion at this point. Adam Leslie, and being offered Isaiah Davis and a second for Nick Chubb. My team is not winning. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'll take that for sure. You know, for all we know, Brees is gone. You know, trade or no trade, free agency or no, you know. And a second is extreme. Like that, honestly, that's like high key, very reasonable there. Even if it's a late second, yeah, I will take that for sure. I like that trade. From Kay, losing Hampton really affected me. My RBs are Chase Brown. Oh no, Chase Brown and RJ Harvey. My bench RBs collectively are Tyrone Tracy and Kyle Monangai. Oh no. Yeah, the running backs, like this was a difficult year for those mid-round running back picks, unfortunately. Paul Gregory, awesome. You picked up Daniel Jones and dropped Flacco. Wonderful there. From Ritby 23, lost 4 of my 5 receivers: Emeka, Wilson, Harrison, DJ Moore. My only wide receiver left is Brian Thomas. Should I drop DJ Moore for Coker? Yes. Yeah, I would do that. And even then, so, you know, injury or no injury there, DJ Moore's production has been mediocre. It's not his fault. I don't think there's anything wrong with him. It's just the offense is no longer focusing on him, right? So his floor and his ceiling are literally the same thing. I would do that for sure. Don't feel bad about that. Mr. Ed, Golden, Dobbs, or Chase Brown at flex. All of these guys have the exact same floor. Dobbs has the higher ceiling, so it's Dobbs that I would go with. 3P1C fail. How would you rank these RB stashes and PPR redraft? Monangai, Rachaad, Isaiah Davis, Ray Davis, Caleb Johnson. I would rank them as Isaiah Davis, Kyle Monangai, Ray Davis, Rashard Smith, and then Caleb Johnson. Sadly, Caleb Johnson has just kind of fallen to the wayside for them. We've proven for sure that he must have also Gainwell to go down to make it happen there, unfortunately. From Jay Kuma, full PPR trade Pollard for Love. I have Caleb Williams, or trade Pollard for Kincaid. Oh, I would go with I would stick with Caleb Williams at quarterback, and I would trade Pollard for Kincaid. You're waiting on Bowers, but you have Mason. You know, I mean, Kincaid's production has been, unfortunately, he's got the injury too, right? And you have Mason, and well, I guess it depends on. No, granted, I do think Kincaid has a good chance of coming back this week. We need to monitor that one, but my preference there would be to take that risk in getting Kincaid because he's, in my opinion, putting up good enough numbers that he's a flex option for you every week. From Bob Hope, Pitts, Fannin, PPR, Hertz, or May. So I would go with May and Fannin on that one. From John Nunez, Ginty and McLaurin for Scattaboo and Meyers. Which side do you want? I want the Ginty and McLaurin side. Scattaboo is fantastic, right? The issue here is Jacoby Meyers. We don't know where he's going to be because he has popped up as a trade candidate. It could be good. It could be bad. And if he remains, his floor has been nasty. So it's just no upside. I would rather take that risk with Terry McLaurin. Jeff Rogers, flex, Mason, or Booty, full PPR. I would flex in full PPR. That does make it. I would still play it safe there, even though it's full PPR, and go with Mason there. From Easy E, thank you for the super flex. Appreciate you. Rank the Green Bay wide receivers rest of season standard league. So rest of season standard league, I still lean towards Romeo Doubs as the one that we have now. Again, I am when Jaden Reed comes back, I do think he has the highest upside. The timeline on him was 2 months. But we do know that he got two surgeries the surgery to his foot to deal with that foot injury that was ongoing with him, and then the shoulder injury as well. So again, I am just kind of low-key a little bit skeptical on that timeline, especially with the Packers doing well. You kind of wonder if maybe they hold a little bit longer to get him, nice and fresh for the playoffs, since they should be trending towards that. So I'm kind of skeptical of if his return will be fantasy relevant for us. So let's leave him out of the equation there. I would rank it as Dobbs, Golden, and then Christian Watson. Watson has been incredibly inconsistent in the past, and then like Dontavian Wicks and whatnot. Dobbs has been the more consistent guy. Ultimately, I kind of do lean towards, now granted, I mean, actually rest of season, you know what, actually, let me just go ahead and flip it. Rest of season, it'd be Golden, Dobbs, and then Watson, because I do think we are on the verge of a golden breakout here. If it, over the next couple of weeks here, I really, really genuinely feel it coming, just because we have seen the steady increase in volume from him. His production increases every single week from a fantasy perspective. He hasn't gotten the touchdown yet. I feel like he is really growing into a potential back half breakout there. So I would go Golden, Dobbs, and then Christian Watson on that one. Back to the chats here. Let's see. Where was I? Oh no. Okay. Actually, okay, I'm going to work backwards here and just go up from that point. From Eric, Eagles or Kansas City defense this week? I would go with Kansas City. Howie Robbery. I picked up Vidal. Let me show this. Howie Robbery. I picked up Vidal on waivers for $0 before he had the breakout game. Excellent there. From Kenny 73 Killa. Would you consider Hurts an upgrade from Caleb Williams? I would, just because the Eagles are going to figure things out here. They're a team that always does. They're going through a rough spot here. Things aren't maybe clicking properly with their offensive coordinator. I believe they will solve that quickly, because they have been known to kind of, quickly adjust things and try and figure it out here. So I trust that there is going to be some adjustments that help out there. And at the end of the day, if you have to trust one, you gotta trust Jalen Hurts on that one. If you're going to trust any Eagles aside from Saquon Barkley, it is going to be Jalen Hurts with his rushing upside. Bob Hope, drop Knight for Miller. If you're looking for the best upside rest of season, it is definitely Kendre Miller. But if you need the spot start this week or next week, I don't know. I can't remember if they're on a bye next week or not. I think they're on a bye next week. Arizona is on a bye next week. So if you need Knight right now for a spot start, then that's the one that you need to go with. But if you don't need him in your starting lineup, then yeah, I would drop him for Kendre Miller to take a chance on the trade possibility there. From Robert Walker. Are we still waiting on Woody Marks, or should I drop and add Spears? No, we're still holding on to Woody Marks there for sure. From Howie Robbery, picked up, picked up Vidal for free there. From Nissan Rob, holding Kendre Miller and Bashal Tootin, debating on dropping for Jalen Coker or Luther Burden, 4-2, not hurting at either position. I would hold Kendre Miller for sure. Bashal Tootin, again, high upside handcuff there. Clearly would be the direct handcuff if anything happened to ETN. So I don't mind holding on to him versus going for one of those guys if you don't absolutely need to start one of them for sure. Thank you, Howie. I appreciate it. Glad you enjoy the content. And then you traded Hollywood Brown and Jackson Dart for Tua and Devontae Smith. Figured with Rashee coming back, that it would be a good trade. Yeah, I think it is fine. If you didn't need Jackson Dart. If you didn't need Jackson Dart at quarterback, then that is fine. Just because Dart's upside is a whole lot higher than Tua, but the upgrade from Hollywood to Devontae is pretty significant there, for sure. From John, did we? Oh yeah! Oh my gosh! I think we caught up here. Yay! We caught up. Awesome. And from Burkham, appreciate it. Yes, thank you. I appreciate the comments, all the likes and stuff. And if you are not subscribed, that would be amazing if you could do so. It helps so much as I continue to grow my channel here. I got content coming out for you guys literally every single week. I put out like 4 or 5 videos, plus shorts, 4 shorts, lives. Yeah, so we're rocking and rolling. You are never short of content from me. But I appreciate you all tuning in so much. As a reminder, this is the podcast, Dear Miss Fantasy Podcast. It goes live every single Wednesday at 8 p.m. EST. So make sure that you are sub, turn on your notifications so that you can come back and join the live and drop your questions. And yeah, I see Easy E. I do have to watch Survivor. I'm behind. It ended, unfortunately. I mean, I recorded it right in my YouTube TV, but I've got to watch that. And then I've also got to watch, like, Wednesdays are big TV days for me. I don't watch like a lot. Well, I do watch a lot of TV, not gonna lie. But I binge watch a lot of TV. But things that I watch in live form, it's literally like just CBS reality TV shows like Big Brother and Survivor. And then Gen V I watch on Amazon. So that one dropped today as well. So I've got TV shows to catch up on. I got to make sure my notifications are not on. I'm hiding my phone because I know I'm getting Survivor notifications. I'm a Survivor junkie on that one for sure. And then D said, can't believe it, but I traded away Pickens and acquired Bowers. I hope he comes back. I'm scared of Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll has essentially traumatized me at this point with his injury updates. I forgot how much he's on my little betrayal list of guys, of coaches that I don't trust. Him and Kyle Shanahan up there in terms of injury timelines, unfortunately. But at least Kyle kind of tells you that he's BSing on injury timelines. Pete just like doesn't give information. Where it's like word salad. But that wraps things up for us, guys. I appreciate you all tuning in. Again, if you are not subscribed, that would be amazing. And then again, if you can go find the podcast, it's available on all platforms if you're listening live and you want to listen to the podcast version or support the podcast and subscribe to that on all platforms. That would be amazing. And then you can find me on social media, literally anywhere at It's Tara Time, ITSTRA. And then also support Player Profiler, who is our, I guess, what do you call it? A parent show. We are the official mailbag show of Player Profiler. This goes through this live specifically for the podcast Dear Miss Fantasy goes through Player Profiler. So we appreciate their support as well. Thank you all for all the awesome super chats and comments. Chat was amazing here. So I will see you guys here next week, same time, same place. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Of course, if you have any comments or any questions after this, feel free to drop them on any one of my videos and I will get to them as well. But other than that, I appreciate you all tuning in and I will see you again next week. Have a good one, guys.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to playerprofiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.